What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Infinite Curiosities, the podcast where we explore all the weird, the nerdy, and downright fascinating stuff that makes the world more interesting, Sean. I'm your host, Matt, and behind the scene helping me out is my brother, Sean, keeping things running smooth so we can bring you the best content out there.
Hey, thanks for having me. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe wherever you're listening. It really helps out, and we've got a lot more coming your way.
Yeah, today we're diving into a game that's taken over a big part of my life recently, Magic the Gathering. Whether you've heard the name before or just curious, this episode is for you. We're going deep: history, mechanics, formats, the collector side, the community, and even my own story about how I got hooked. So let's start how this incredible game of Magic came to be. The story of Magic the Gathering begins in the early 1990s with a guy named Richard Garfield. He wasn't just any game designer. Garfield was a mathematician and an avid game enthusiast. Before Magic, he had designed a few games, but nothing that took off the way Magic would. In 1991, Garfield pitched a board game called Robo Rally to a small Seattle-based game company called Wizards of the Coast. This company liked him, but they wanted something different, something quick, portable, and fresh. That's when Garfield came back with the idea of a collectible card game. He imagined a game where each player could customize their deck of cards, making each match unique and strategic. It was a revolutionary idea.
Wait, Matt, what made Magic so different from regular card games?
Before Magic, most card games were played with a standard 52 card deck, right? The ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Those regular cards, right? With fixed rules, but Magic introduced a new twist. Players could build their own decks, choosing which cards to include based on strategy, preference, and rarity. It turned card games into something far more personal and strategic. That flexibility was a game changer. Literally. Wizards of the Coast loved the idea, gave Garfield the green light, Magic was born. That was it, just like that. The first set, called Alpha, launched in August 1993 at Gen Con, the largest tabletop convention in North America. It was a small print run, about 2.6 million cards, and that might sound like a lot, but to put it in perspective, that's roughly enough cards for only about 130,000 decks of 20 cards each. And the deck game, right, is played with 60 cards. So, I mean, cut that down even further, right? And considering Magic's popularity, Wizard thought that this supply would last all summer, but it didn't. The set was sold out in weeks. That first print run has since become legendary, with alpha cards considered holy grails for collectors due to their rarity and slightly different look. Then came beta and unlimited, with slight variations and improvements, including fixing some typos and adding more cards. By 1994, Magic was exploding in popularity. Stores couldn't keep up with demand, and players were flocking to learn the new game. Magic wasn't just a card game anymore. It had become the foundation of a whole new genre, collectible card games, or CCGs. In fact, Magic's success sparked a wave of new games, like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! In 1999, Pokemon was in 1996, and many others followed. But Magic remains the original and still the king of the genre. Over the years, Magic has evolved drastically. New cards, mechanics have been introduced to keep gameplay fresh. The design team continuously experimented with colors, themes, and even storylines woven into the cards. Magic's card frame itself has changed several times, and it's gone from a niche hobby to a global phenomenon, with professional tournaments, huge fan conventions, and even a digital version like Magic the Gathering Arena. Magic's journey wasn't without bumps, though. There are controversies about cards, power levels, rule changes that ruffled feathers, and challenge of balancing complexities with accessibility. But through it all, Magic has endured, growing a massive, dedicated community. So now that you know how Magic started and why it's so important in gaming history, let's break down what actually happens when you sit down to play, because at its heart, Magic is a game of strategy, skill, and a little bit of luck. Alright, so let's talk about how Magic is played, because it's not just one game, it's more like a universe of formats. The rules stay mostly the same, but how you build your deck, how you win, and even how many people are playing, all of that can change depending on the format. Let's start with the two most popular formats today, Commander and Standard. Commander has absolutely exploded in popularity, and for good reason. It's casual, it's creative, and it's usually played with a group of 3 to 5 people, which makes it a social and unpredictable. In Commander, your deck is built around a legendary creature called your Commander, obviously. You get one copy of each card, no duplicates except for basic lands. So every game feels different. Your Commander starts in the Commander Zone, and you can cast them as many times as you want. But each time they die or leave the battlefield, it costs a little more mana to bring them back. Commander decks are 100 cards total, and the deck has to match your Commander's color identity. That means if your Commander is red and green, your entire deck can only include red and green or colorless cards. What makes Commander so fun is the politics and the chaos. You're not just trying to beat one player, you're navigating alliances, betrayals, big combos, wild top decks, and did you just board wipe again? Moments. It's the perfect way to experience the full flavor of Magic. Massive spells, epic creatures, weird strategies, and just hanging out with friends.
Yeah, you've already roped me into like 3 Commander nights. It's addicting, Matt.
And everyone builds their deck differently. Some go for high power, some go for janky and funny. I've seen squirrel armies, infinite goblin decks that win by drawing too many cards. It's chaos, and I absolutely love it. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, we've got Standard, a rotating format that uses only the most recent Magic sets. Standard is usually played one-on-one competitively, and it's a great entry point for new players because the card pool is smaller and the decks are more affordable than formats like Modern or Legacy. The meta, that is the best performing strategy, changes with each new set released, which keeps things fresh. It's fast-paced, tightly tuned, and perfect for testing your deck building skills under pressure. Standard decks are built with at least 60 cards, and you can have up to 4 copies of most cards, unlike Commander where you can only have 1 of each. It's ideal for people who want to keep up with the newest strategies and newest cards. There are tons of other ways to play Magic, but let me just hit some of the more well-known ones really quick. You've got Draft and Sealed. These are limited formats. You open booster packs at the event and build your deck on the spot. It tests how well you know the cards and how fast you can think on your feet. Modern uses cards from 2003 onward. It's faster, more powerful, and has a huge pool of available cards, which means wild combos and deep strategy. Legacy and Vintage, these formats allow almost every card ever printed. We're talking about power spells, banned cards, decks that cost as much as a used car. Not beginner friendly, but fascinating to watch. Pioneer, a middle ground between Standard and Modern. Bigger card pools than Standard, more affordable than Modern, and very much growing in popularity.
So, if someone's just starting, where should you point them?
I'd say start with Commander. If you've got friends that play or are looking to play, it's forgiving, it's fun, it's full of personality. If you're more into structure, one-on-one matches, maybe don't have as many friends, Standard is a solid entry point, especially if you want to eventually go competitive. Magic is flexible. Whether you like playing huge chaotic games with friends or tight strategic duels with finely tuned decks, there's a format for you. Next, I'll tell you how I personally got into all of this. And spoiler alert, it started with a phone call and ended with a Fallout themed deck. So how did I get into Magic the Gathering? Honestly, about 3 months ago, I didn't know anything about this game. I'd seen cards before, maybe heard a friend talk about it in passing, but it always felt like one of those super deep, overwhelming hobbies you had to grow up with in order to understand it. Then I got a phone call. My best friend Javi calls me, and literally he just goes, "Get a deck. You're playing Magic with me now." And that's it. No intro, no explanation. So that same day, I Googled some shops here in San Antonio, and I walked into this small card shop inside a flea market. Shout out to Euphie's Cards and Collectibles. And even though it was simple, it had heart. The kind of place you walk into and instantly feel welcomed. Like you just found your new hobby spot. I ended up buying a Fallout Commander deck, the Wise Mothman. I didn't know what half the cards did, but I locked in immediately. I was flipping through the cards, trying to figure out how it all worked, wondering if I actually just spent $65 on a card game I didn't even understand yet.
That's when I knew it was over. You were about to be deep in this hobby.
You're not wrong at all. The shop owner was super cool, super patient. He walked me through the basic rules, helped explain how Commander worked, and just made the whole thing feel welcoming. That was the first real experience of the Magic community that stuck with me. From there, it snowballed. I started cracking packs, watching YouTube videos. I started reading up on the rules and mechanics just to understand what I was doing. And before I knew it, I was actually getting the hang of it. Stuff that felt confusing at first started to click. I started tweaking the Fallout deck. First a little, then a lot. Swapped in some draw cards, upgraded some lands, replaced janky creatures with better ones. Then came a goblin deck, then a mill deck. I got obsessed with combo strategies. Now I've got a whole shelf of deck boxes and cards like you wouldn't believe now.
I still don't know what half of those terms mean, but hey, I respect the commitment.
It's wild how fast this game can get under your skin. It's the perfect blend of strategy, collecting, storytelling, and creativity. And the Fallout deck, still one of my favorites. It's the one that started everything, so I still use it and play it all the time. So that's how I fell headfirst into Magic. But like I said, it wasn't just the gameplay, it was the cards, the feel of them, the art, the hunt, the collector's itch. So let's get into that side of Magic next. Alright, now that you know how I got into Magic, let's talk about one of the biggest parts of the game that really hooked me, the collecting. Magic isn't just a game. It's a treasure hunt and endless adventure where you can collect everything from fierce cats and goblins to werewolves, dragons, and even cards inspired by Lord of the Rings. That's what makes it so fun, the variety, and the chance to find cards that not everyone else has.
Sounds like a collector's dream. So many creatures, so many stories on each card.
Exactly. And it's not just creatures. There are spells, lands, artifacts, enchantments, each type adding a different flavor to your collection. It's like building your own little world, one card at a time. Some cards are fan favorites, like cats prowling the battlefield, goblins causing chaos, and mighty dragons soaring above. Plus, there are special sets and crossovers like Universes Beyond, where Magic crosses paths with Lord of the Rings and other popular universes like Spider-Man. It keeps things fresh and exciting. Now, not all the cards are created equal. Magic uses a rarity system. Commons, uncommons, rares, and mythic rares. The rarer the card, the harder it is to find, and sometimes the more valuable it becomes. Some cards become legendary, sought after for their power, their art, or their play in Magic history.
So that's why some of the cards go for hundreds or even thousands online.
Exactly. But it's not just about the money for me. It's the thrill of the hunt, cracking open booster packs, and hoping for the special card to hit, trading with friends to snag a card I need, or hunting down a specific piece to complete a deck or a collection. And the hunt isn't just in the game stores. I love going to flea markets, scrolling through Facebook Marketplace, and even checking out yard sales. You never know where you'll find that hidden gem, and that's part of the adventure. The unexpected discovery.
Flea markets and yard sales, now that's old school treasure hunting.
Honestly, really, really is. And sometimes it's disgusting because these cards have been sitting there forever. So they feel all grimy and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. But anything for the hunt, man. Plus, collecting connects you with a whole community of passionate players and collectors. Whether it's chatting at your local shop, joining online forums, or attending events, there's a camaraderie it shares passion for Magic. For me, collecting isn't just about gameplay. It's about the joy of the hunt, the creativity in building collections, and even a bit of nostalgia. Every card has a story, and building my collection feels like piecing together a big and personal history.
Makes sense. It's more than just cards, it's memories and moments.
Exactly. And that's the collecting side of Magic. It's a huge part of why the game is so special to me. Next up, we'll dive into gameplay and strategy, where all the cards come alive. Alright, so we've talked about basics of Magic, the history, the formats, and how the game generally works. Now let's get into the real meat of what makes Magic so addictive, the strategy and the deck building. This is where things start to get really interesting.
Like, how do you even start building a deck without losing your mind?
Exactly. When I first started, the sheer number of cards was overwhelming. But the key is understanding synergy, how cards work together to create powerful effects. You don't just want a pile of strong cards, you want cards that complement each other. One of the most important concepts is the mana curve. Think of it like pacing in a story. You need a balance of cards you can play early, mid, and late game. Too many cards with high costs, and you'll get stuck waiting for mana. Too many low cost cards, and you might run out of steam before you finish the game.
So it's like building a team where everyone has a role at the right time.
I mean, that is perfectly said. For example, in my Wise Mothman deck, I made sure I had creatures and spells I could play early to set up the board, some mid-range cards for control, and power late in the game to just finish people off. Another fun part is discovering combos. Those moments when two or more cards work together to create a big impact. Sometimes it's game-winning combos, other times it's just a cool interaction, surprises your opponent. When you start to playing, don't be afraid to experiment. I learned a lot by losing some matches and figuring out what didn't work. It's part of the process.
So it's not just about having the strongest cards, but knowing how to use them.
I mean, perfectly said, Sean. I mean, really. Magic rewards creativity and thinking ahead. Reading your opponent, predicting their moves, and adjusting the playstyle is just as important as the cards you have. And the community is huge for this. Watching other players discussing strategy and getting tips helps improve fast.
Sounds like a game you could spend years mastering.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of Magic. Whether you're a casual player or a competitive grinder, there's always something new to learn and explore. All right, everyone. Now that we've covered a lot about Magic's history, gameplay, and collecting, I want to switch gears a bit and have some fun. This part's all about some cool facts you might not know, plus busting a few myths that often scare new players away.
Ooh, myths. I like the sound of that. What's the first one?
Let's start with a fun fact about the game's name. You might wonder, why Magic the Gathering? Well, it actually started with the designer, Richard Garfield, wanting to create a game that felt like a magical duel where players gathered creatures, spells, and artifacts. So the gathering part is all about collecting those cards to build your deck and outsmart your opponent.
Sounds simple enough. What's the rarest card you've come across?
The rarest Magic card ever is the Black Lotus from the original Alpha set, printed back in 1993. Only about 1,100 copies are believed to exist. This card is so powerful and rare that some copies have sold for over $500,000. $500,000. This is the same card that Post Malone bought for $1.6 million.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's insane. So, do you have to memorize every card to even play?
Here's the first myth, and we need to bust it. You do not have to memorize every card. Does it help? Yes. But Magic has thousands of cards. No one remembers them all. Maybe some people do, but not your normal everybody. New players start with a deck that's easy to understand, and you learn the cards as you go. Plus, cards explain what they do on them. It's all about learning at your own pace.
That's a relief. What about this one? Magic is just for hardcore competitive players.
Totally busted. Magic is for everyone, from casual gamers who just want to have fun with friends, to collectors who love the art, to people who enjoy building crazy decks and winning tournaments. I've even seen people that just are in Magic to just collect cards. There's a place for every style of player.
Any funny or crazy cards you want to share?
There's this card called Grenzo Dungeons Warden that can do some hilarious things. If you build your own deck right, or Goblin Game, a card that turns the game into a bluffing contest, you secretly pick a number of cards to discard, and whoever discards the fewest wins. Magic is full of surprises and crazy cards that switch up the game.
That sounds fun. One last myth. Do you need to spend tons of money to be good?
Another big myth. Sure, some top tier decks can get pricey, and some collector's cards can get pricey, but there are tons of budget decks that are fun and competitive at local game stores. Plus, formats like Commander let you mix and match and have a blast without breaking the bank. So, if you're new, don't stress. Play your way, find your style, and most importantly, have fun. Magic's not about being perfect. It's about the journey and the community. All right, everybody, that wraps up a deep dive into Magic the Gathering. We've covered the history, the gameplay, collecting, fun facts, and busted some myths that hopefully make this game feel a little less intimidating. If you're new to Magic or thinking about jumping in, remember it's all about having fun, finding your style, and enjoying the community. And trust me, once you start, it's hard to stop.
You've definitely gone all in, man.
Yeah. It's not slowing down for me anytime soon either. If you like this episode, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, or wherever you get this podcast, and comment down below. Tell me what your favorite Magic card is, or what's got you hooked on this game. I'd love to hear your story and what you've got going on. Thanks for hanging out with me and Sean today. We'll be back soon with more Infinite Curiosities and diving into some other cool topics. So make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure. Until next time, shuffle those decks and stay curious.